Hello, my name is Weston Kester. I'm 28 years old. I live here in Loomis, California. I have a beautiful wife, Elise Kester. I have 3 kids, McKenna, who's 5 years old, Calliope is 3, and then Hudson, who's 5 months old. And we really wanted to push for Schutzhund and to be trainers. And so we decided to go for it. And so we got in contact with Joel, who got us in contact with a few other people out here in California, and one of them was John Raboni.
John Raboni, I'm from Northern California, I live in Loomis. I'm a police dog and Schutzhund trainer. About 3 years ago, Mark Hamilton, who was the president of our club at the time and our contact person, came to me and he said, "Hey, I got a letter and a DVD video from a guy in Utah, some young kid that said he wants to come out here and learn helper work, and he sent us a DVD to show us what he knew, and he wants to bring his family out here and learn helper work and join our club." So I asked Mark if he watched the DVD of the kids' helper work and what he thought of them. And no disrespect to Weston, but Mark said, "Well, he's a beginner, you know, he doesn't know a whole lot." He says, "What should I?" So next thing I know, Weston shows up with his wife and his 2-year-old daughter, and he's here. And he introduced himself to us and hung out for a couple weeks, and then I asked him one day, I said, "Where you guys live?" And he said, "Well, we're just staying in a motel for now. We're looking for a place to rent." And basically he had no job or anything. He just packed up his family and moved them all out here.
Met John Raboni first time at Placer County Schutzhund Club's field. It was probably one of the hardest start outs for me in Schutzhund. I came from working show dogs and dogs that weren't at a competition level, I guess you could say.
Needless to say, I was a little surprised that he went ahead and made the trip, and at that point I felt pretty obligated to give him a go, so he started coming out on Saturdays and working dogs with us, and really just knew some basic stuff about helper work, and we fit him in for, let him do a little bit for a couple of months, and then he just started getting better and better. The great thing about Weston is his work ethic was so good. Everything he did, he ran. If we had to set up blinds, he'd run into the clubhouse, grab blinds, run out, set up the blinds, run back to the blind number 6. I mean, he just worked his butt off, and anything we asked him to do, he just did it.
So when I first started training here at Placer County Schutzhund Club, John was our main helper, and we had a couple other younger helpers that were assisting him at the time and that were working our dogs periodically, but John did the bulk of the work. And then we had, for a while, one who was there with us training quite a bit, working the dogs, and then life gets in the way, or people don't realize how much work it really is to be training dogs in Schutzhund and not just doing helper work. It's one thing to just be a sleeve that's going to catch a dog. It's something totally different to actually bring a dog along in protection from the time that it's a puppy all the way to its IPO 1, IPO 2, IPO 3. And what we were missing were those people that wanted to do that. We had people that were good at working dogs in trials, but they weren't good with the training. So it ended up just being John again with us for a while. And then I get this email. I was just new president, and I get this email from Weston Kester, and no idea who he is. Just kind of another person that I'm getting an email from, because we get a lot about people interested in the training. And turns out he's in Utah and wants to actually come out and check out our club. So given our past history with people checking out our club and then leaving, I was like, okay, well, all right, maybe I'll let John handle this and see if he wants him to come out. I don't know if he'll stick around, maybe. But I wasn't too certain at first. So I don't really remember the first time I met Weston. He's been a part of our club so long and so intricately. I just kind of remember training with John, and then all of a sudden Weston shows up, and now we're training with Weston and John together, and together they've just made an excellent team. I remember just John being really excited about him, but working really hard not to let his excitement show, because he's been burnt. He had guys that he was excited about that then just didn't want to put in the work. And so he was wanting to feel Weston out and make sure, is he serious about staying? Does he really want to learn? Is he somebody that I can train to train the dogs and not just do helper work? But I still remember just how excited John was to have somebody that he could just make a run down the field again and again and again and again and again, while he stands on the other end and says, "Do it again, run." Time went on and we got to know Weston more. We just really loved Weston and loved his family. It was definitely a family affair when they were out here. He'd be here, Elise would be here. They'd bring their daughter, and then they had their daughters and now their son, and we'd do like baby showers and stuff with them. They kind of became part of our family as well, and we wanted to support them for all that Weston had been giving to us and to John as well, to let them know that, you know, they're family and we want them to feel supported and to feel loved with that. And I remember just being so proud when, I think it was after regionals in 2014, I think Diane Vigson's club held it down in Manteca, and I remember Nathaniel Roque was talking to me after the trial and was talking to me about Weston and how much he really liked Weston and really appreciated him. And this is our director of judges.
Probably after the first year, we had a regional championship coming up, and Weston was getting pretty good at catching dogs and doing, you know, this and that. Most of the time he'd step in for me. You know, I'd have a dog that was something I thought he could help the dog with a little extra speed since I'm getting up there in age, and a dog that had some technique and everything already, so we could work on Weston's technique of catching fast dogs and things like that. So he gotten pretty good, and he was probably one of the better helpers in the region at the time, and he wanted to try out for the regional championship to be a front or back half helper.
But as I kept going, I wanted to do more. I had this idea in my head, actually in the beginning when I started Schutzhund, when Joel came out and did the helper classification. I wanted to do national and international helper work. That was my goal from the beginning. And so to get me on that path, we came out here. We started training at John. Working with John made that vision, that goal a little bit more feasible. And so working with John, started working with him more and more, working more and more dogs at a higher level. And then started branching out from there. I worked with Mario Fernandez, I worked with David De La Segas, all these different top-level, top-notch helpers to start fine-tuning me as a helper. And so once that started happening and meeting these different people, my goal was being seen, I guess. So I kept pushing. And I had the support, and so it gave me kind of a belief, kind of gave me a push to go to the next level.
Last year, about probably 3 or 4 months before the Nationals, I got a call from somebody that's pretty connected with the USA helper committee and stuff. Not necessarily a helper committee person. I won't disclose the name in case he wasn't supposed to do this, but he says, "Hey, I just want to let you know that your boy Weston got picked to come out and try out for this year's Nationals." I'm like, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding!" I was, surprised, and he's going to be thrilled to death. I said, "Have you told him yet?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm not going to tell him." I said, "But let me ask you this, does he have a chance of working the Nationals?" He goes, "Oh, no, I don't think so." He goes, the first year, he doesn't have that much experience, and the other guys do, and if he comes out and he's respectful, everybody likes him, he works his butt off, on the sidelines, is always ready to go out there if he's an alternate and stuff, then next big trial, he'll have a good chance that, that they'll look at him more seriously." So I thought, well, I'm pretty busy this year, so I'm not going to buy a ticket to the Nationals because I got things to do, and it's, on the East Coast. So I chose at that point not to go because I didn't think he was going to get chosen, to actually do the work. The funny thing was, the day of the tryout, I kept my phone by my side, and I told him after the tryout, "Give me a call and let me know how you do." So I think it was about probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone starts blowing up, and I'm getting calls from a bunch of people that are out at the Nationals, and everybody's going, "Oh my God, Weston just tried out, and he looked awesome. He was the best one out there by far, and if he doesn't get picked, I'd be really surprised." And then he looked super. I'm like, really? Unbelievable. I was just so proud of him. Well, about 10 minutes later, I get a call from actually one of the judges out there that I know, and he said, "Oh my God, Weston looked awesome. If I was a judge, I'd pick him for sure. He looked super." So about 10 minutes after that, I get another call, and it's Weston. He goes, "Hey John," in his mild manner, quiet voice, he goes, "I got picked. I just want to tell you thanks a lot." So he actually got picked, and I found out later that of the I think there was 4 people in the committee that picked the judge. They said 3 out of 4 picked him as number 1. So I was super proud. Hung up the phone, thought, oh my God, this is his first national trial and I'm not going to be there. And I went, wait a minute. And I ran in the house, got on the computer, started looking at airline tickets, and I bought a airline ticket, and 2 days later.
So I kind of had a feeling, just a little bit. I'm like, I don't know. Well, the next morning, show up to the championship as it starts, look over across the field, and sure enough, there's John at the event in Kentucky. He had immediately booked a flight on a red eye into Atlanta and then into Kentucky so that he could actually be at the championship event to watch Weston and support him for his first national championship.
So pretty much what I would tell a helper starting out in Schutzhund or interested in doing help work in Schutzhund or just doing trial work. The number one thing for me is being humble. Don't go out there with an ego. It's for the dogs. It's for the people who are out there training their dogs. Start out that way first. Don't have a big ego. Start out with humility and go find a good mentor. The best thing for me that helped was finding a good mentor that will work with you, who put in the time, and you also put in your effort and time as well. And it comes down to humility, comes down to work, effort, and just keep pushing forward. We all have we're not perfect. I'm still working on things today, even as at this level as a helper. I'm still working on things, and I'm always wanting to do better than my last trial, do better than my last event. And that's what we're here to do. A lot of the top helpers are that way. They start out, they're humble, they want to do their best, they take the coach, be trainable, be teachable, and move forward, and keep doing whatever you can to get to that goal. Go work dogs in the middle of the day, work dogs in the week, work anybody's and everybody's dog to get better. So that's what I would say.